Hello, this is Gonzalo Lopez Gallego, director of Apollo 18.
And I'm Patrick Lucier, film editor of Apollo 18.
And the first thing I want to say is sorry about my English. If something is not properly spelled or anything, I really apologize.
Never apologize for your English.
Well, the first thing I want to say is that this movie is still it's really fresh. We were like really editing it like 2 weeks ago. We finished changing things. No, 2 weeks ago, 1 week, 3 days ago. I don't know.
3 days ago, you were reworking the editing, the ending one more time.
One more time. And the other nice thing is that the movie it's not released yet. We're doing this DVD audio commentary. It's like 2 weeks before the release date. So it's really exciting. It's new and exciting.
Yeah, it's right now we have no idea how the audiences will react to it when it comes out. It's certainly the most unique film I've ever been part of in terms of anything that I've ever cut. It's been an amazing experience to work with such a great visionary who,
Come on, Patrick.
yeah, no, I'm not kissing your ass because your pants are on. But it's the idea that, the whole approach to the film is just so unique. And, how did you figure all that out when you approach the material?
Well, this part here, this is the last thing we add in the movie. We had like three different shootings, and this one was in last June, and it was like a great addition to the movie because it allowed us to know the characters at the beginning, and also it was really interesting to try to recreate the real footage of the Apollo missions, like in the engineering lab and the debriefing and all those things, to really give the beginning of the movie a period look, and at the same time introduce the characters and know them a little better. Because one of the previous versions we have of the movie started already with two guys with their helmets inside the lunar module ready for landing, and the people were like 20 minutes. You had 20 minutes to know who is whom, and so this is one of the greatest.
Yeah, this was a great addition. I remember that early version of the movie that started with them just as they were landing on the moon. Is you couldn't lock onto their faces, and then this version just gave such an amazing introduction to these guys and saw them as human. You saw that all the family life and everything like that. And it's interesting, it also sets up the language of the film. You see all the different formats, the interview format, the Super 8 format, and the film that's damaged, the film that's recovered, all the different looks that you created for it.
Normally the movie was made with a 16mm camera, like an old camera, and the most important thing, the DP is not here, Jose David, and we worked together like really hard to get this look up for the movie. But we normally use like old lenses from the 70s. And to get the Super 8mm look, it's again 60mm, but it's like we blow up the picture like 30%, so you get the grain, and of course playing always with the frame rate.
And did you find with that the blowing up the Super 8, you must have had to frame it?
Yeah,
knowing you were going to do that.
Yeah.
The other thing that's great about this is such an amazing use of the original, the real stock footage from the Apollo missions. And
that was quite an experience to go through all the footage that I don't know, like hours and hours of footage where you find all those beautiful shots of all the Apollo missions and everything. And it's funny when you watch all that material, you really think about how the people still think that they never. I'm not American. They never.
No, but
made it.
the idea of a conspiracy that people
Yes.
didn't actually go there. I mean, why do you not go there 6 times or however many times he actually went?
Yes, and it's like you have hours and hours of footage of the astronauts working, and it's like it's real.
Yeah. I mean, I know when the editorial, when we would go through that and just listening to the sound, listening to the 45 minutes of just quiet as you heard somebody like tinkering away with something in the background, waiting for something to happen, and it's just like if you were going to fake something, you would cut that out.
This is the command module. This was really tricky. That was one of the latest additions we had in the movie. It was also for introducing the characters, and it was nice to experiment how to do the zero gravity with not doing zero gravity, like with low budget, just with camera tricks and acting performance and frame rate.
Yeah, and that was really fun to go through the material. Ryan, who plays John Gray, just seemed to be the one who had the hardest, the hardest work because he was the one on the harness and everything like that. Right?
He's amazing. He's an amazing actor, an amazing person, and so tough. And he spent like I don't know how many hours hanging with the wires,
This harness work's tough.
and it's not just about the wires. It's like once that you all the three of them, like Lloyd and Warren and Ryan, inside the command module, you have to pretend all the time that you're floating. So you have to hold yourself with the arms, or you have to use your abs or your legs, and all the time like moving slowly and pretending that you are floating. And it was exhausting for them. The whole movie was exhausting.
Yeah, well, especially I think for for Warren and Lloyd because they had so much of that their work is done in those suits.
It was really painful. I think it was really painful. The movie. It's real also because we did it in a really authentic way. So they are wearing real astronauts outfit, and we are, as you're gonna see later, we are inside the real lunar module. There's no place for moving at all or doing anything. And every time you wear this spacesuit, it takes like 45 minutes to put it on, and the helmet and the backpack that it's called the police pack. And
you're actually pumping oxygen into them, right? They're closed in these things, the fish bowls. They're actually closed in because there's takes where you watch the oxygen kick out and suddenly it completely fogs up and you see the actor's eyes go wide.
Yes, the actors are suddenly worrying and say, "Oops, can anybody turn the oxygen again?"
Yeah, suffering for their art. Yeah, nothing more real than that. And also, it seemed like when we get the dailies and we look at it, we realize that for so much of this photography, it was just those two guys in that capsule.
Yeah.
And the door would close, and then they were on their own. That must have been great for them, as actors.
Yeah, and one of the things that we did, sometimes in the lunar module could be like 5 people, and it's like smaller than the smallest restroom you could ever film or something. It was like really amazing. It's impossible to be there. And when you have the talent there with the spacesuits, and then the DP trying to do his best with a small light, and the camera operator, and maybe we need some special effect, and maybe of course I have to be there because I want to be there with them and with my little monitor. So it was crowded. It was really crowded.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that I think was, Patrick, you can tell me better, how was for Matt and David, all our assistant editors. Like, we didn't shoot a single shot of the movie in 24 frames per second.
No, it was a constant challenge when we would get dailies in trying to decipher. Obviously the frame rates were written on the slates and everything like that, but trying to figure out how to get them in sync with the audio and how to adjust everything. But it gave the movie such a unique look. The fact that the frame rates were constantly different and different. The same setup would have 5 or 6 different frame rates from take to take to take to take, and how that would piece together, and how each different camera, the language of the cameras was a fantastic thing to learn.
These are our GoPros.
Your GoPros. What are these cameras? The cheapest cameras?
Yes. It's like the movie when they call me, Bob called me to
Bob Weinstein.
Bob Weinstein called me to offer me the movie, and everything was so fast. And then he called me, you have to go to London and meet Timur, the producer. So everything was like call me on a Saturday, and on a Sunday I was flying to London and I was meeting Timur. And then 1 week later I was in Vancouver, and 3 weeks later I was shooting, and for 18 days wrapping. And 8 days after wrapping, we saw a cut.
We should have cut to all the grown-ups.
So everything was so fast that we needed to take decisions like really fast, considering that we were not supposed to have post-production time. So that's why so many of the things that we have in the movie, like those GoPro cameras, those fisheye really cheap cameras, we decided to use like SD output instead of an HD output, because it was giving more the quality, the texture that we were looking for. And even that it was like a radical decision, because you cannot go back. And like what we did with all these scratch magazines you see in the movie that are really negative manipulated before.
Yeah, and before you shot it, you went in and you damaged the film, so you were fully committed to whatever it was going to look like when you come out, and that's random. You don't know what that's going to look like.
Yeah, I mean the nice thing is that we had like clean magazines, and we were always using for the last take the scratch magazine.
Yeah, but we invariably when we would cut, we would always use the scratch mags because they were so interesting, and they were actually beautiful. They were beautiful to look at how all the colors played and how where the overexposure was, where the damage was. That became such a key part of putting the movie together.
And that I have to admit that it's because of our camera operator David Perkovici. He was experimenting a lot. He was going to the track, to the camera track, to the how you call it, the dark room. And just throwing sand to the negative, using laser flashlight. Like we were trained, and we never had the time to prepare that, to try it.
Yeah, there's no testing.
There were no testing, so. The best scratch magazines, of course, are the ones that we use in the third,
the last shoot, because by then the first two shoots were the test for the last shoot.
Yeah, so sometimes you see really degraded magazines. They're like, "Oops, David went too far."
Yeah, and then these you have here in the film you see these huge moon lunar vistas. So how did you shoot all these?
This is of course set extensions, and we had like a really nice set, really beautiful moon. Designed by Andrew Naskarami, that he's amazing. You have to watch it. You take care when you work with him, because if you ask him something, he's gonna make it.
Yeah, exactly. You want the moon? Fine. Here's the moon.
Yes. You want an engineering lab that looks like the one of Apollo 16? Okay.
Here it is. Yeah.
He's amazing. But of course, some of we needed scope in the movie for really telling the story that these guys are isolated in the middle of nowhere. And that's part of course, green screen, and then the great people from visual effects that we have a lot of people in visual effects.
Terry and Dennis from Russia, the whole Russian visual effects team.
Everybody was working great in this movie for the visual effects. I mean, everybody, but the Russian team was so fast, so good, so
amazing work. Just the quality of work that came out of them, especially once you get into the moonsters that'll show up later.
That now we have a little one that it's coming there
in the background. Yes, the promise of the moonsters to come that you'll see later in the movie.
This one used to have a leg, and we took out the leg because it was
just too much too soon.
Yes. Yeah. So this is one of the scenes that the lens was crowded. Because here we have Warren, and of course we have the camera operator, and it's the DP there, and probably I'm there under, and then when we go to the fisheye cameras, of course nobody's there, and this was the best for them. It was when they were able to play alone, closing the door and do their performance.
Yeah, and then they become completely in the environment. Some of these scenes are completely unscripted. Those ones, it was totally ad-libbed by the two actors. Right?
Let's talk about that. I mean, like, I don't know the percent of the movie, but probably 40% of the movie or 30% of the movie, it's improvised. I almost think 40% of the movie is actually scripted. Yeah.
I mean, I think so much of the movie was created. I mean, we would get dailies that come in and go, wow, what's this scene? This scene's great. But you couldn't find script pages anywhere. They didn't exist.
We'd rehearse and we work on the characters. And then the best thing when you were working with them like that, with the two fisheye cameras, it was to give little clues of what was going to happen. And they were so great improvising.
Yeah, the two actors. And how did you get Lloyd and Warren? Lloyd plays Nate, and Warren plays Ben.
Warren, we found him in Vancouver. I mean, with the casting, the Canadian casting.
And who's that? Who's your casting director?
Maureen Webb.
Maureen Webb. Yeah.
Maureen Webb. No, she was great. She did a really great job.
Because she got both Warren and Ryan. Right?
Yeah. And all the people that we were casting, like it was like really difficult because we always had no time, and she was working really fast and really good. And then Lloyd was from LA. We found it in LA.
And he's English, though, Lloyd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was something that I know in the beginning. There was a whole thing about the accent, but he seemed to do a great job bearing it.
And they did like great casting session. I remember Lloyd, and he was like, "Wow, I want to work with this guy." And with Warren, I remember that we did like. It was like we were looking hard for all the cast and everything, and then we had like 6, and then we started combining it. Like we did like a final audition, and we played with Lloyd and Warren and Lloyd and other actors and here and there, and that moment was when Warren was like exploding. It was amazing, and you're gonna see some of that kind of scene at the end of the movie when he's so natural, so human, so you know.
Yeah, and yeah, just that was the thing. The trick of the performances is that they had to be as real as possible. You had to believe them as astronauts. You know, you had to believe them as people. You had to be compelled by everything they did. Yeah, and that's why I think so much of the ad lib stuff works so well, because it just comes out of their characters. It doesn't come out of the situations that you created, as opposed to things that were scripted that may have been, a writer trying to sound like they were writing, space talk.
Yeah, that every time we were writing too much, it was like not working.
Yeah.
One of the nice things about it is like, I remember when we were casting at the beginning, me myself, I was like really fresh in this whole process. I had to do my homework really fast about NASA and about astronauts and about everything. And when we were casting for the first time, we had one scene that they had a problem when they're landing with the LEM, and we were doing like crazy, like alarm, do this, do that, and then I talked with Jerry Griffin, with our
technical advisor,
like an amazing guy. And of course, I learned a lot from him, that these people were jet pilot fighters.
Yeah.
They were professionals.
Yeah.
And they were never panicking.
Ever.
So then we started doing the casting in a different way. It's like, cool down, calm yourself, even if there's the worst thing happening there. And that was helping a lot.
Yeah, because they're really sort of Icemen, these guys.
Yes.
Yeah, they can total control. They can think in the face of absolute calamity.
Yeah.
And
that's why we have at the beginning of the movie that line of Warren saying, "Houston, we have a program alarm, 12:01." It's like, "Oh, we're dying here, Houston, but no problem."
Yeah, but they seem unfazed. And I know in part of the post process, their thing would come up from the studio about that.
That scene, that particular scene that we just saw, that was improvised.
Yeah, it was totally improvised. The whole thing when they hear the sounds at night, the shot of Ben. In this very take, there's all sorts of different reactions for him. There's reactions where he's sort of pontificating, where he's sort of whimsical, and he's sort of happy, and then that was the end of the take where he's like, "Ooh, I'm hearing something," and I think not knowing how it was all going to go together, it just became such an important piece based on the ad lib thing that was before.
And with it's because you remember that this box that Wiley created,
Yeah.
Wiley Statement, like our sound designer, and it was like a toy. It was making weird sounds, like the sounds of the creatures. We were talking about how we wanted to create those sounds, and we talk about one thing that it's called granular synthesis, and Harry Cohen, he's an expert on granular synthesis, and they created this box that I was playing in the shooting. It was like they were just there inside the LEM, and they were sleeping, and then suddenly we're touching the number 10 effect and button. It was like, wow, they were waking up. Like, what's that?
Yeah, and that worked great because you could see that throughout. I mean, we would get that in the soundtrack, so you could hear exactly what they were reacting to and how they were moving to it. And it made all their performances so true because they're stuck into this box by themselves. In these wide GoPro shots, there are no camera operators in these moments. It's just them.
Yeah. I think that's one of the nice things of the movie, that since the LEM, the lunar module, is so small and so real, it captures the claustrophobic feeling.
Yeah, that was one of the things I think that when we first previewed the movie in New Jersey in March, or whenever it was. I think that's when it was. And we.
I don't want to remember.
No, but just seeing it on the big screen for the first time and realizing how claustrophobic the movie was, how you really felt the world was closed down. I think Mark Helvig, when he saw it the other day, his reaction to the film was like, it's a movie with great scope and absolute claustrophobia simultaneously.
Yeah.
That you're seeing this huge vista stuck inside a fishbowl.
Look, Patrick, this is one of the scenes.
Yeah. Now, when you shot this, Lloyd didn't know what was happening in the scene, but Warren did.
Yeah. We put the rock there, so Lloyd's reaction is completely real. It's like, what the
yeah, but he had no idea. He had no idea that was going. But he plays it so well. He never breaks character.
Never plays it great.
And Warren just plays it so well. I think there was a first take of this. He picks up with his hand, and obviously Jerry was there to say he'd have to pick it up in his scoop. And it's like, they wouldn't actually touch it.
You're right. I was not remembering.
Yeah, but it was great because you could see the evolution of the three takes as things got realized and everything got dialed in. It just started working. And of course, up on the upper left there was the delicious ham spread.
We were always trying to have fun, really.
Yeah.
Like to have fun when we were shooting the scenes, really playing with it.
Yeah, and they must have been so glad to be out of the spacesuits because you shot all the spacesuit stuff first, in
Yeah,
the suits,
yeah,
and then the interior of the modules.
that's right. And in almost like probably 95% of the shots that we have outside in the moon with them, like this particular shot,
Yeah.
it's them. It's
Yeah,
Lloyd and
yeah.
Warren.
This is Lloyd and Warren. You didn't use stunt doubles for this. They weren't doubles or photo doubles. These were the two actors doing it.
But you know what? Because they were so. I mean, of course, because if you can see their faces,
Yeah.
and I was trying to see their faces every time,
Yeah.
even that it was difficult. But they were rehearsing, they were training a lot how to behave, how to move.
Right.
With the low 1.6 gravity.
Yeah.
So like the different ways of walking, the different ways of moving, and how
Yeah.
you have to bend on your knee, like imagining that the spacesuits are compressed and everything, and they were so great that
Yeah, and they're of course having to do that with full gravity, and in a hugely heavy suit,
Yeah.
and everything like that, and they're having to pretend it's 1/6 gravity. It's like, ooh, that's a good way to lose a lot of weight, I suspect.
And the other thing then, like in this scene, it's the camera operator. The camera operator, David, was wearing always the
And he had a full suit, right, with
Yeah.
helmet and everything, so that his shadow would always be correct.
yeah.
Yeah, and it had to be that hard shadow, obviously with one direction coming from the sun because there's no other lighting or anything.
Yeah. So it was also tough for him because he was like the old 16mm camera. It's really heavy stuff, and sometimes he was wearing it on the chest to have the free hand,
Yeah.
to have both hands free, so he can play with hands in front of the lens, so you
Yeah.
can see that he is well, like you see it here, but
Yeah.
instead of like a camera here, it's like a I don't know how many kilos of
Yeah.
20 kilos or something.
Yeah, because And this is always a point whenever we've screened the movie where the movie really sort of takes off. That once they find the footprints, because it's like, whoa, you had that great, even though it's really obvious, the comparison is wonderful. Where you see the tread of their blueprint and the tread of the Soviet blueprint, and you realize, we're in alone up here.
So Patrick,
Yeah.
tell me something about the editing.
The editing, the editing for this when I started cutting this, it was one of the most challenging films I'd ever come across because it was the cutting style was so unique and what you wanted, and it took the first couple sessions of us sitting together to really understand what the language of the movie was going to be, how it was going to work, how the freedom that you had within the material, that all the conventions of cutting, matching and following the action in a very specific way that you do in traditional cutting, you had to ignore all of that. And that encouragement from you was invaluable to go, okay. And you just had to divorce yourself from this, and suddenly you realize, well, man, we can do anything. There's nothing we can't do. That's why, the shot earlier where you see suddenly we blow up and repeat the rock being put into the bag so you understand it, accentuate it. Anything can be out of sync. Half the dialogue in the movie was written and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten, and it didn't matter. We could put it in anywhere because half the movie doesn't play in sync anyways. It was a remarkably liberating thing to cut, and it's certainly one of the most exciting editing jobs I've ever been part of because of that, because it was just like, there's no rules.
You did great.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, we all did it. You cut a lot of the movie yourself because your whole background is as an editor. Right?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and then with Matt, Tassone cut on it, and I know David Kashavarov cut on it, and others, whatever. But that it was a really exciting process putting it together. And this stuff, again, this is all great visual effects stuff because the Russian LK, which is a beautiful set that Andrew and his team made, was all against green screen, right? There was a little piece of moon terrain, but behind it was all green. So they built that whole lunar landscape. That's beautiful. And of course, they had to build it not in a way that it looked like it was in a Michael Bay movie, but they had to build it in a way that it looked real, like you're really photographing it. So that's a really unique challenge.
This scene, the LK scene here, was really a great improvement from the second photography, the second shooting.
Yeah, moving it early because originally we didn't ever find the LK till the end of the film.
Yeah, and it was sad because it was so beautiful.
It was the best set.
It is like I can do like a whole movie inside this and outside the it's like so perfect. It's like so precise, so accurate, the interior and the exterior of the LK. So then in one of our new writers week.
Yeah, the
of
new writer week
the new
every
writer-
3 days. Yeah,
every 3
a
days.
writer's being paid for 8 hours to
Yeah.
come in and come up with something.
Somebody got this idea. Was
Yeah.
it's Chris Landon.
It's Chris Landon, and then David Luca came in,
Yes.
and there's a few people, right?
And that's when they offer the possibility of finding the LK in the middle of the movie and making it part of the story. And I
Yeah.
think it was a great
Yeah,
achievement.
it became an invaluable piece because it pushed that sort of creepy vibe. But the LK really is it's like a haunted house that you enter in, and then the crater. When the whole crater
Yeah,
thing.
it was not existing in the first draft at all. I mean,
No, there was no crater things. I mean, I'm sure the original writer would be shocked to see the crater.
Yeah, would be shocked to see the movie.
Yeah, but it's
But happily.
yeah, happily so. Yes, absolutely. But this was such a great moment. The idea of the craters being cold because the sun never shines in there, and then using only the flash to light the way, which I think came out of conversations about pitch black or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to do. It was like we saw the finding of the cosmonaut 3 times.
Yes.
And we wanted to do like something really scary, like a jump scare, like really. And every time we were doing, it was creepy and interesting, but not.
Yeah, but it didn't have that. And then I think there was conversations at one time was that there was some underground bunker or something on the moon, and then the crater just seemed like such a natural thing. And then,
Since they were going to the South Pole,
Yeah.
and in the South Pole you have those craters that the light never
hits.
Never hits.
Yeah. And
So it was perfect to.
Yeah, and there's a perfect place to find the body and start revealing more of the mystery about what's happened here on the moon, what's happened to this, the Russian mission, and of course the Russians, in reality, as far as we know, never actually went to the moon. They canceled the lunar program, or so we're told.
So this was this crater scene and all these scenes, since it was the second shooting we
Yeah.
have, was good because it gave Andrew the time to rebuild, reshape
Yes.
the
Yeah.
moon, the
'Cause
landscape.
he had to build the crater because he didn't even have the space to do that before.
Yeah. So they created that huge crater.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, and then you get to see more of the Russian suit here as they examine it and pull the rock out, and it was interesting as the movie went, and the whole unraveling of the mystery, and as we were putting the mystery together in the cutting room, and you and Cody Zwig, who's one of the producers of the film, who was invaluable throughout the entire film. I mean, he was there with us every single day in the cutting room every day,
Yeah.
coming up with story points every day.
We miss him here.
Yeah, we miss him here. He should be here now,
Yes.
but he's on a family vacation, getting some well-needed
Lucky
rest.
him.
Yeah, lucky him. But was an invaluable part of that. And as
Cody wrote so.
Cody probably deserves more writing credit than almost anybody. Cody came up with so many amazing things.
Yeah, because you are at the shooting and then you have these pages that you have to shoot, but then Jerry Griffin, our technical NASA advisor, is saying this is not working, and Cody has to go rewrite it and recreate. It was like the movie was all the time we were shooting and developing the script at the same time.
Yeah, and in post redeveloping and then going back and Cody was amazing in that process because he was tireless and just kept coming up with stuff. It's interesting in this section of the movie, you start getting into a whole string of scenes that are from all the various versions of the movie that were shot, where the story is quite different. I mean, in one version, the first version, Nate knows what's going on, and doesn't tell Ben, and they're totally at odds.
Yes,
and they're really confrontational. And then in the second version, they became comrades in a really good way. And it's when you see the blend of all the different variations together, it's quite exciting to see it because it looks like, well, of course it was designed that way.
And it's good that we were able to put almost everything.
Almost everything is,
Because when you film something and then you get attached to it, it's like then you feel sad when you don't have it in the movie. But in the end, we were always.
It was amazing how much stuff returned, and especially in the last couple of weeks of editing at the beginning of July. We're now sitting here at the middle of August of 2011. So. And the movie opening in 2 weeks on September 2nd. So it's this scene here was something we talked about in post as adding on, and then you got these couple of scenes and you probably shot them like 30 minutes. And this little scene here where in the original draft they weren't talking about their situation enough. They weren't reacting to it. They weren't proactive.
No.
And that was the thing that was so exciting to see that material when you and Cody got to create that and go back and with the actors, because they seem to really embrace all the changes.
At the beginning of the movie, I was talking about Timur, that I met him in London, and he was the producer. Timur, it's Timur Bekmambetov, that it's the producer of the movie. And I remember meeting him in this hotel in London, and it was great. He's so warm, so nice, and what he wanted, it was to make the movie really authentic. That was his goal. It's like, this needs to feel real.
Yeah.
And he wanted to focus also on the claustrophobic feeling.
Right.
Talking about two guys inside that small place in the middle of a huge place in the middle of nowhere.
Totally isolated with no possibility of assistance.
So he wanted to talk about that, about madness, about how that isolation gets you into places that you will never imagine. Like, and the fact that we have little creatures in the movie, it's good, it's working, but I think it's working towards the madness, creating that insanity effect of being isolated.
Yeah, I think that was one of the original challenges of the first version of the movie. There's actually giant moon creatures, which we got rid of.
Yeah, because they look like bunnies.
They look like giant moon rabbits. Yeah. They were very scary in a not at all kind of way, but very well executed.
Yeah.
And the problem is that, if there were big moonsters on there, you would need to see them all the time.
Yeah.
Hence the shadow and stuff like that. Some of those are remnants of those old versions. But once everything went to the smaller thing and then the path of the infection, so much of that was came up with in post, and then with you and Cody coming up with what that storyline arc was, that suddenly it became much more intimate, and how Nate's infection spreads and what the causes of his madness, how that drives them, how that damages their chances of survival. Which always kept it personal, and it kept Nate more as a physical representation of the villain rather than giant rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, which seemed to be really effective.
Yeah, it was better to talk about something that you can understand better.
Yeah.
Because the movie, it's let's face it, it's not paranormal activity.
No.
Like we read every time, like it's paranormal activity on the moon or Blair Witch Project on the moon. I mean, of course, it's a found footage movie and it has some similarities because it's a genre now. It's a new style that.
Yeah.
But paranormal activity, it's a couple in a bedroom, and this is two guys on
the moon.
On the moon.
Yeah,
so
and
like,
because everybody's probably been in a bedroom.
Yes.
And how many of us have been in a lunar module?
So it was really difficult. Like, okay, this is not the same. It's like you cannot play with the close things that you have, the things that know,
Exactly.
like when you're sleeping.
Yeah, and that was so much of part of the conversation with the producers in the studio while we were post production is really helping them understand that this was a very different movie. It had its own language, its own tempo, its own feel, and that the rules of paranormal activity or quarantined or anything like that didn't apply.
No.
That the movie is its own unique thing, and over time they really came to embrace it. But I know initially it was a little tricky for them because I think they had thought it was just going to fall into a really familiar format, and then it is a format unto itself.
But you know what? I think that because of those. I don't know how to call it. It's not fights, but
it's discussions. I mean,
those discussions. In the end, you find really nice things.
Oh, the movie is completely better because of it.
Yeah.
All the conversations
because we were trying all the time to make it
exactly.
like that.
All the conversations with Matt Stein and Matt Signer and Bob Weinstein and all the creative team at Dimension to go through and find the more commercial version of the story.
Yeah.
Yet they always wanted us, once they understood what the language of the movie was, they always wanted us to adhere to the rules of the filmmaking.
Yeah.
The rules that you had set out into the rules of your vision.
And
to the movie's benefit. So every time they pushed for more, while we may not always have gotten there the way they had originally set out, the movie always became better.
Yeah.
Every single time.
And so many of the scenes we have that are working really good, that are creepy, like the crater scene, or like the rock pulling out of the belly.
Yeah.
All the scenes is because of that. It's because of those discussions, and they wanted all the time to make it scary, and it was great.
Yeah, no, them pushing it really made the movie better. Sometimes you hear things of the studio pushing you in a way that can become counter to what the movie wants to become, but they really understood intuitively, I think, what the movie needed to be to find an audience, to find everything, and then had the faith in you to allow that to happen within the vision and style of the film.
And I think they liked it. They liked
Yeah,
the movie.
yeah,
You know,
I
it's
think so
like they
too.
were
I think
doing
so
it
too.
with the point of view of respect of
Oh
the
yeah,
footage of what
exactly.
they
Yeah,
wanted to get.
it was never confrontational of oh, I hate you. You're not doing what I'm saying. It was always, everything was always for the better of the film. As all we were, you always felt that we were all in it together.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't feel that we were dangling at the end of a rope that they were waiting to cut off. Most days.
most days when you're shooting and you're stressed.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes you are at the end of that rope.
Yes. But, so let's talk about the DP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Let's talk
Jose
about
is
Jose.
brilliant.
Jose David Montero. He's my friend, my partner, and I work with him for my very first movie and my very first short movie. And this movie was a great, challenging experience for us. Sorry. One of the nice things, it's like we did a movie like in 2002 that it was called Over the Rainbow. That it was a found footage movie. It was about a guy that buys himself a video camera and makes this trip to Berlin and starts recording everything with his camera. And then he becomes crazy and something wrong happened. Well, I don't want to spoil the movie. Maybe we can add it as an extra on the DVD.
It's an Easter egg.
So somehow we experimented before with the style, with the genre of the movie. But of course, this movie had like much more colors, much more palette,
more ambitious.
Yes, more to try. And how do you get that look of the movie with the time we had at that time, and trying to make it really authentic, real, but it needs to look beautiful as well. It needs to keep some style, some
Right.
So he did a great job. I mean, I work with him and since last 15 years, and it's a kind of relationship that you understand each other, we know each other, and
That's a great partnership.
yeah, absolutely. So all the decisions of how we're gonna use these cameras, or the 60 millimeters, or the GoPro, all the texture, all the style, it was a really interesting and exciting process, and most of the time with no turning back.
Yeah, no. You had to commit completely because the timeline that the movie was shot under. Even in each subsequent round of photography, it was there was no time not to commit completely to whatever experiment it was, and it was an experiment. I mean, really, everything.
It was an experiment. I mean, I told you several times. My first two movies that I did in Spain were kind of experimental movies.
Yeah.
And when I had the chance to work in this movie, it's like, okay, I have to experiment. I have to really to try, because it's kind of unique, the style of the movie, and you I don't know. It was great. It was a great experience.
Yeah, and this sequence is a really interesting example of resurrecting so much old material.
Yes.
When we piece this together, the last time we cut the scene, we opened it all up. It just seemed to not work exactly the way we had hoped. And then we found like part of the dialogue that they're saying and they're talking about is from a complete other scene in the movie that was cut out a long time ago. That happens earlier.
And this is completely from a different scene.
It's from a different scene. It all works. There's a shot where he moves the antenna coming up, which Chris Lasco, our visual effects editor, one of the visual effects editors on the film, created, where you see the Earth come in the background. And it was none of that stuff was designed to do that.
Yeah.
None of this dialogue was designed to really go the way it goes. Some of it, of course, was. But because of that, it was the scene is much more dramatic.
This is
one of the Chris Lasco shots, and he's just put the Earth in the background,
and it works great.
It works great, and you understand the thing of the radio communications and the creatures and how they activate the creatures and everything like that. This was all. We found this right near the end.
Yeah. This was the last.
That language of the storytelling of how that was going to work. This was always one of my favorite visual effects in the movie. This coming up of the creature inside Nate's helmet.
That was also one of the Timur's idea, that he wanted like a spider in the helmet. That would be really creepy, and then we work on the creature design in that direction.
And it is incredibly creepy to see it skittering around the inside, because you're just like, oh my god. And I love the sound design here, how it gets really loud and suddenly gets really quiet, and then goes back and forth, because the playing with the huge dynamics in the film sound-wise really help add that feeling of being unsettled while you watch it, because there is no music, there's no score that you can rely on, there's no 90-piece orchestra pounding away in the background. to tell you what to feel or anything like that. You really have to rely on both the sound and the performance and the photography to trigger all those feelings of tension and the audience's emotional involvement in the film.
And yesterday we went to watch the movie. I remember and here in this place that sounds amazing.
We saw the final digital version of the movie in the DCP at Technicolor.
And I was so impressed because it sounds like it's supposed to sound.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch it in a really good theater, and Wiley and his team, they did a great job. Everybody.
Yeah, I mean, George did such a great job with the dialogue and everything like that, and all the little dialogue tricks that he did, and the little repeats and echoes of performance. And it's interesting. Some of the dialogue now is different performances put together of the same line, and you hear like the urgent performance, then you hear like a milder performance underneath. I think John has a couple of those, the character of John.
But you have to work also on the clarity.
You
need to make it clear.
Yeah.
So.
You need to make it clear, but not so clear that it sounds like it was recorded on a stage. It has to sound like it was recorded in the environment.
This is one of my favorite.
Yeah, this is a great moment.
Like that.
Yeah, them coming in, the absolute panic, and the sound is also heightened and everything like that, and them trying to get him back together. You're hearing the alarms and everything like that.
And it's like I love the 60mm look. It's like the texture of the 60mm. It's something that you cannot get if you don't do it with a 60mm.
No, you can't fake that.
No.
It's so the overused word of organic, but it's so organic to the format, and that's one of the beauties of the film is how it captures and uses all the different formats. Therein the video, the 16mm, and allows you to really feel the differences of the format as part of the storytelling language.
Well, it's great in this scene.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we add also in the last shooting of the movie, in the last version of the script, it was this POV. It's the third character. It's John Gray. Ryan Robbins. He was not in the first photography. He was not in the script. And I remember always Jerry Griffin, our NASA advisor, saying, why is not the third guy in the movie? Why is the guy in the command module is not in the movie?
Yeah, because he's their tether, right?
Yeah. And it helped a lot. It helped in every different way because Ryan, it's amazing, and it helped the story, and it helped the scope of the movie because you can go outside and see the moon and see how even more that claustrophobic effect of being there isolated.
Yeah, it was amazing to see those huge lunar vistas from the point of view of the command module, and at the same time realize again that there is no help for you. No. There is no way anybody's ever going to come for you.
And it helped to build the story and to build the relationships with the characters.
Yeah, and build the tension there, and the idea, and this helped really establish the idea of sort of hope and rescue. That of course we would dash upon the rocks, but.
And this, for example, this scene, it's suited completely by the actors. And this particular scene, they were operating the 60mm camera. So I don't know how many takes we did, because sometimes you have to do many takes in shootings, and Warren was so exhausted on operating the camera because it's heavy stuff.
Yeah, but he did a good job.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he did a great job, and they were saying. I mean, they were doing so many things. They were doing the
slates.
The slates.
They were clapping the slates.
They were clapping. They was like, oh my god.
Yeah, they were doing the craft service. They bring in their own snacks. This is such a great moment in the movie, the reveal of Nate's wound, and that things are not what you expect. And this whole section coming up again is multiple different versions that were pieced together as the story went, and how we kept. You and Cody especially kept coming up with the idea of making more of this moment. Mm-hmm. This little piece, originally he did find the rock inside the suit.
Yeah.
Right? And then you put this piece in and then kept the rock inside his flesh, but it was just a great moment to see him searching inside.
And it's good how it connects here. If the rock is not here, where is the rock?
Where is it?
And then it's like, oops.
And then all that dialogue was rewritten to fit the new story as the story was coming together. And then here it is, oh, it's inside you.
And the special effects, like Gary.
Yeah, Gary Tunnicliffe, who did the special effects of for Nate's decay
and the cosmonaut also.
And the cosmonaut, the dead Russian, did a great job with. But this moment when you watch it, with an audience or even with the uninitiated, as he starts shoving these tongs, it's and you're like, oh God.
And then he finds a rock.
And it's not like he pulls out,
a little thing.
a sliver. He pulls out a boulder.
Hang in there.
Yeah, this was such a fun moment, even to cut you and cringe.
So what we did in the movie is like the rocks are affecting the video and audio
Yeah,
sound
there's some
signal.
sort of radioactive material or within them that causes problems.
So every time a rock behaves as a monster, as a creature, as the way we call it, monsters,
Yeah, the Moonsters.
they affect the video signals and the other signals. That's why so many times when you hear them, it's like affecting the signals. And
When they're dormant, they don't seem to affect it. But the second they sort of activate.
yeah.
That's one of the very effective scares.
Yeah.
Movie.
Works always.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Nate with the hammer there is from the second shoot. The actual rock hitting the rock is from the third shoot.
Yeah.
This dialogue here is from the first shoot.
Frankenstein movie.
Yeah, well, but it all works, right? It's all telling the same story, and as the dialogue was, reworked and tweaked.
But yeah, but that's what it has when you are like writing
Yes.
and editing and shooting at the same time. But it's really creative, and
It's
it's like
very
you
creative.
just have to put the pieces here and there. And
Well, that as we mentioned before, was the most exciting process of making the film was how it wasn't just like cutting coverage of over shoulders and masters or that. This was really helping create a story. This one was this scene in particular was originally created with wild lines and two other generic shots that we found of the actors this way, and then you got the chance to actually shoot it.
And we shot it as we
As we faked it.
faked it in the editing room. So,
Yeah.
So it was like perfect. It was perfect storyboard.
But it became such a vital point. This idea of the PSD5s, these little
The
DoD boxes they've set up, is that maybe they're triggering the thing, and all this stuff none of it was in the original draft. It was all came up in post.
Yeah. And it's a great moment because you can really connect the very easy way, like how the creatures sound and how the creatures affect the signal.
And the cause effect, and realize that they've triggered the creatures and like that. And then also, really, what we were trying to get to was them leaving the ship one more time, so that you didn't have so much time being trapped in the same locale, which is the size of a closet, a small closet.
This is one of the best scratch magazines. Like when
it's
David
beautiful.
learned completely how to scratch the magazine. So we were doing like whatever 5, 6, 7 takes, and always at the end we have to do the scratch magazine. And he was like, "Oh, fuck."
Like we have it, we have to move on. But the scratch mags, every one of them is gold.
Yes, it was taking
Gold.
time because you have to change the magazine and put the other one, and he was always pissed off with that.
But I'm sure he's happy with it now.
Yes, now he's happy. One of the things that I think was really difficult for sound, it was that since we were never locking picture, and we were changing all the time, they were always like following us, doing their best, trying to re-synchronize or to re-edit everything. I cannot imagine. That was really painful.
Yeah, I think for Wiley and his team, it would have been incredibly difficult. That and plus we would provide them with such a detailed soundtrack to start off with, and then tell them to you can't use a lot of that. You gotta come up with your own version of it.
But it's like they really had to use a lot of their time just on following us, not creating, not designing, and the movie that now we have with this beautiful sound and this beautiful design, that if you listen to it like accurate, like really, you can find like all the different levels of details, and it's working. It's double the challenge. It's like it's really
Well, and it really helps, in a scene like this, which this is actually the second discovery of the Russian scene, mixed in with shots of the first discovery of the Russian scene. All this whole scene of this EVA is completely manufactured from spare parts. Yet they created a soundscape that really makes it feel different and unique, and such a it's all originally conceived as part of the story.
Wiley's statement. It's working. It's a professional that works on Tarantino movies, Oliver Stone movies. It's like
And I remember talking to Wiley the first time when he first got hired, and he was so excited about this film because he's a total space geek.
Yeah.
He loves anything to do with the space program, so he was so excited to be part of it. And for the longest time, all he wanted us to do was have the sound of a launch. And eventually, when we made it into the movie,
I told him last time, I called him, Wiley, you have your lunch at the beginning. You won this battle. But it was a great experience to work with him, and I learned a lot. And all his team. It's like this movie, I don't know, this is something that you normally say with every movie, but I don't know. I think in this one it's really real. It's because of a lot of people working hard.
I think I was talking to John Shore, our post supervisor and guru, the other day, who completely managed the schedule of trying to get this movie done, and with so many incredible moving parts that could have fallen apart at any given moment.
Is Shore still alive?
Shore, I think, is still alive. He's either that or he's sleeping in Tupperware for another month before he's ready to come back out. But Shore did an amazing job doing that. And we talked about, though, how so much of the film became such an inspiring experience, and like for Wiley, for myself, for the entire post team, for the actors and everything like that, how everybody wanted to bring their absolute best to it, and so much of that's because of you, because you had such a clarity of vision of what the movie needed to be. You knew what it wanted to be. You knew how to get there, or you knew how to inspire people to get there. And then it was an amazing thing. We were saying just like, the reason that we all work so hard on it is because you were working harder than the rest of us. And by God, we wanted to, do you proud. So, and this even scenes like this scene is made up from so many different versions of this, that, the dialogue, none of it's in sync, yet it's sort of in sync.
Yes, in the end, it's like, oh my God, it's in sync. How can that happen?
And I hadn't seen this last round where you'd put this ADR in, where Nate's now doing the Nixon speech at the beginning of the scene, because we had that in there one time and then we took it out.
Yeah, because he used to say like, they're talking to me.
They're talking to me. I hear them inside.
Yeah, they're telling me we're gonna die or something like that.
And when there wasn't this thing about Ben being lost in a department store when he was a child in one version.
Yeah, we had many things. It's like it takes time, but it's true. It's like when you're writing a script.
Yeah.
If you write a script and then you go to your first draft, it's like, wow, how things change.
Yeah,
from
the
first draft.
evolution is incredible, and how much better it became. But this is a perfect case in point. There was originally another version of this scene here where Ben's talking to the camera, and I remember you loved the other version.
Yeah,
you loved it, and yet this version's so much better, and he's talking about everything he needs to talk about.
Yeah, and it's because of Bob.
Yeah, because of Bob. Because Bob kept pushing for the movie to be better.
Yeah, and he wanted the blood. He wanted that scene.
And Bob was tireless in his you can do better, you must do better, and you will do better.
Yeah.
And every time everybody rose to his desire.
And it works good. It works really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it.
Yeah, no,
I like it.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic.
It was a long process. This movie, it was really like exhausting, but I'm in love with the movie. I like the movie.
No, I couldn't agree more.
It's like it's something that you, how you call it, manufacture, like you develop or whatever with your hands, and it's so. I don't know. I like this texture. I like the grain.
It is a movie that is you can just feel is completely handcrafted. It's none of it is cookie cutter. None of it is prefab.
Yeah, but maybe that it's like that's why to do like an audio commentary, DVD commentary, when you just finish the movie like 1 week ago.
2 days ago.
It's kind of weird because you don't have the perspective. You don't have the feeling that you can laugh about the movie.
Right,
right.
You're still in it.
You're still in it, and you're so serious with what you did.
When was the last time you had a day off?
4 months ago.
4 months ago, right?
Yeah.
You haven't had a day off in 4 months,
No.
and you haven't been home in 4 months. You haven't seen your girlfriend and your family in 4 months, and so come tomorrow, you fly home.
Yeah.
You fly back to Spain.
Yeah.
And that's where the beginning of your perspective will start.
Yeah, and that's when you should do the audio commentary. I'm sorry, I'm really pleased to do it now, and I'm happy, but sometimes you take things too serious, too personal, and because you don't have the perspective of that gives time.
Yeah, because nothing does that quite like that. Yet for footage like this, this scene that we have here where Nate's shooting himself, this was part of the original photography.
Yeah.
So this you actually shot in January, right?
Yeah, that was January.
So although the movie wasn't done then, but the perspective of that, and I know there was always debate about that. Who's shooting that? How is well, he's shooting himself,
Of course.
and this moment always played vaguely terrifying because you were positive Nate was going to do something horrible to him.
And this Patrick, we're getting closer to one of the great cuts you did.
Yeah, this fight scene originally ended with Ben subduing Nate, and then he ties him up.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole scene which is coming up, which is the evacuation scene, where in the background Nate is tied up, rambling. He talks a lot, and his like arms are tied up behind him on either side, and there's a debate about, well, you can't leave me here. I'm going to leave you here. I can't trust you either. I mean, and then we realized as we were cutting the schedule last time is because also in the middle of there was a scene where something massive, a massive creature bumped the ship, and that's what caused the ship to go into massive malfunction and them to have to leave. But when we were cutting it in the beginning of July, we realized that him hitting the hammer, hitting all the consoles with a hammer might actually have the effect of damaging the limb, so you had to go.
Yeah, and it was so simple, so good, so direct.
Yeah, and I think part of that
again, cause and effect.
Cause and effect. I think part of that was I had cycled on and off the movie because I had some other commitments, and when I came back the last time, you had already shot the last time. I wasn't actually there for the shoot. I just came in after you'd finished. And seeing it again with probably fresher eyes than I'd had, and then that was really allowed to see that, maybe that's not necessary.
This is something I want to comment, how we did the video look of the movie, and it was funny also to shoot it at the set.
Yeah,
it's like when we were doing the video camera, the Westinghouse camera on the moon, and actually it was like a really small Handycam camera.
Mm-hmm.
On a tripod, and that camera got an output to an old TV, and we had like a really good f23 Sony HD camera shooting against that old TV monitor to get the look. So when the studio, the producers visit the set, it was like, what is this camera doing here? But that was the way to get that look fast, because if you really try to pretend the video look, the video effect, it's normally.
So you shot an old tube TV that had a curve to it.
Yeah.
And that's what gave the sort of distortion and the scan lines.
With a really good HD camera that it allows the DP, Jose, to play with all the features, with the frame rates, to get all the, because it's like you see how, for example, how he's blinking really good. It has like a slow motion effect, but it's not in a slow mo.
Yeah.
And that was one of those decisions that are helping a lot for not spending much time.
And did you know that before you started shooting, or is that something you discovered just during the process?
That one I wanted to try it from the very beginning.
Yeah, you had that in mind, like, maybe that'll work.
Yeah,
because it's great. This was always a fun thing, the debate of the hammer and everything like that, and then of course the Big Daddy shadows.
The Big Daddies. You're right. Now it's coming.
Yeah, the Big Daddy is a reference to BioShock.
Yeah, a game I love, of course.
Yeah. And this just has such a Big Daddy vibe to it, the slow-mo with the dirt and everything coming off as he's lumbering through. You could almost hear
the lamb dying in the background.
Yeah, which is wonderful. You realize that there is no there's no going back. And of course, in the original version of the movie, they don't even know where the LK is yet. They haven't found it, and so they are setting out with no idea where they're going.
Yeah. Thanks God we changed that.
Yeah, thank God, because it's so much better now that they know, and that you see Nate succumbing to his madness. Now, this is Nate actually in his suit here, even though you don't see his face.
Yeah,
he's there doing the dialogue.
Most of the time, they were always there.
Except for this stunt here, right?
And I know that sometimes was difficult. Sometimes they were asking themselves, but wait a second.
You're not seeing my face? Why am I doing this?
I'm 100 meters far from the camera with the solar visor down. What am I doing here?
You're acting.
You're acting.
Do it again.
And it was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, no, they did a great job. Yeah. And this, I love this, the spinning wheel and the astronaut line there, that you don't know which one it is. You don't know who it is until he starts standing up. The crashed rover. And this is a good scratch mag, the damage and everything.
Yeah, it gets a little
much. but it's different than the others. It has a different feel, and it seems to fit the fact that it's just come flying off the camera. I mean, flying off the rover as the rover's crashed.
Let's talk about also little things about the maths of the movie, like
Yeah.
the format. That's something that again Chris Lasco
Yeah.
worked hard on it, because one of the last things we wanted to do on the movie at the beginning was 4:3 all the time.
Right.
But since we opened it to the third character and we started the movie with that prologue, like engineering lab, and we wanted to open it more like a, I don't know, documentary.
Right.
So where you can play more with the format. So the movie, it's changing constantly. It's changing from 185 to 166 to
Right.
to 4:3. And I think it helps for the pacing of the movie. It's something that you don't realize, but it's there. It's giving a rhythm.
Yeah.
And Chris was being really accurate and precise on
Yeah. Always.
always with every little
Yeah.
change and the maths.
And
that
of course, every time we would cut, we weren't perhaps as diligent with the maths.
yes.
This was always one of the really effective scares in the movie, and it's so bizarrely creepy. Although the first time it was written, the dialogue was quite different.
What was it?
But it was sort of crazy. Like Nate was speaking in tongues and monstery noises,
yes.
and then it was the idea of making it more compassionate, more like this is what you have to do to get out. And so that when he's suddenly interrupted in the middle of speaking and pulled into the pit, into the crater, it becomes more shocking because it's the idea of you're leaning in closer to hear what he's saying.
I think this is one of the, I don't know, most difficult scenes that Warren did in terms of physical,
Yeah.
exhausting him, because he was wearing the whole spacesuit and of course with the helmet and the police pack, and he has a flash.
Yeah.
He has like a huge flash attached to his chest,
Yeah.
and the fake flash, of course, in the right hand. But to create that feeling of the flashes, he's wearing like really heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So he becomes in this scene the actor and the light and everything. He's everything.
He's the entire crew.
Yes, he's there, everything. So that was like the peak, the top moment.
Yeah. Well, he does it so well, and you feel the sort
And
of
he
the
did
terror.
it several times. Let me tell you, it was great.
I love these effects of the creatures all coming to life, and you realize and him lunging down for the camera, and you just realize how he's fallen into the wrong crater. The panic of leaving. I mean, hearing him breathe, and the fact that he did this in multiple takes. I mean, my God, that must have been exhausting.
Yeah, I remember last day we have ADR. I asked him once again, "Oh, Warren, can you do some breathing?" And I was like, "Okay." It wouldn't be an ADR session if I'm not losing my mind. It's like
Not ready to pass out.
passing out, just breathing and breathing.
Um,
And this is actually what used to be
Yeah.
the discover of the
yeah,
AK.
this used to be where he found it.
Yeah.
And he was actually, as he was in the original version, as he was running towards the LK, he turned and looked behind him, and there were all these giant moonsters, like huge creatures were rising up.
Well, the problem is that they were never looking huge because
Yeah,
in the
there was no
movie,
scale.
There's no scale. You don't have trees. You don't have cars. You don't have
There's not a whole bunch of other people wandering around.
no.
up there,
There's
too.
nothing. So we were creating like huge creatures and look like okay.
Yeah. So what?
So what?
Yeah. And because of the single point of view camera, once there was never anything to have him referenced against.
No, it was just in the moment when he goes inside the crater and then the camera falls and then you
Yeah.
can finally see him and the creatures and not just as the first person point of view.
Something about this moment here of him taking off the white spacesuit always reminds me of the end of Alien. When Sigourney Weaver was putting on the big white spacesuit and the helmet and everything like that, when the aliens in the other
Yeah.
part of the shuttle.
But it's the design of the interior of the LK. It's so beautiful,
Mm.
and the lightning. It's like when it gives you the texture right
Yeah.
away. It's like those colors.
Well, you can almost smell it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
I remember the smell perfect.
But you can just feel this sort of archaic technology that somebody would have tried to go to the moon with this old equipment is sort of astounding.
Yeah, it's like flying on a coffee pot. Or really.
Yeah. Well, what do they say? It's the computing equivalent of a Commodore 64. And then this version of this ending was actually recut very recently. I think only like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago.
That was Harvey.
Working with Harvey, and
Yeah.
and then
And it was good. It was saying you have one great scene in the movie and you cut it out. Why? I mean, and it's
Yeah.
true. It's like Warren here. It's amazing.
is amazing.
And the story and how they giving up on him and how he reacts. It's like so dramatic. And Harvey was asking me, why you cut it out? It's like, because it was not making sense. In the end, we have, yes, it makes sense. So we put it in, and he was completely right.
Yeah, and it was the kind of thing that I think, all in all, for all the variations of endings, I think there's a total of like 17 that we had created and cut at varying times, like different. And this version, if you correct me if I'm wrong, has elements of every single ending but one.
Yeah.
There's only one piece that's missing, which
is good.
Yeah, which is good. Yeah, everything else is part of it, and works as if it's a whole. It works as if it was designed that way.
Yeah.
None of it feels like, oh wow, this is just sort of thrown together. And Warren is amazing here.
Yeah, I have the chance to put this in.
Yeah.
It's great, and I love to see him in this scene.
Yeah, and you can just sort of feel the despair, the sort of the hero who's trapped and literally has no chance to get away. He's done everything he's supposed to do and is being abandoned by everybody who's supposed to take care of him.
And that's what I said at the beginning of the movie, that he finally explodes, and this is something that he did in one of the casting auditions, and
yeah, and you just realize that that how utterly helpless they are. And it was interesting going through the dynamics of this, because this is one of, I think, our original resistance of that. You start with him sort of not being able to communicate, and then they pick up communication with him, and then they lose it again, and then they get it again, but it all works.
So I want to talk about Kevin Leslie, my first AD, that he was helping a lot in this movie. Of course, he was helping with his job, with us, what he's doing. Like we were able to finish everything and to do everything on time and right, and he was always keeping the great mood at the shooting, because that's something I talked with him the first time. I like shootings when you have fun with people,
right?
Not when it's becomes something like a military, following orders. And he kept that mood all the time, so good. And he's a geek, so he was helping me a lot with all the technical things. And as I said before, even that for you that is listening, this is not before. He helped me to ask myself the right questions. And I think that's really, really good, and it's helping a lot.
Yeah, and valuable in the storytelling process and piecing everything together.
Yeah.
As the movie goes through.
So also the other thing that we commented before, it's that the fact that we have now several endings in the movie that are working good together.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good, because it's like, for example, Timur and Michelle Wolkoff, the producer of the movie, they always wanted to see Ben taking off, launching the LK, because of the thrill and the emotion and the hope that represents. And with this last minute cut that we did, we found a way to put everything there together and make sense.
Yeah, and create an ending that there's so many great elements in each of the endings that were created for the film, that to have so many of them work together, it's really all of them but one ending. Well, two endings. The White Room is not included.
Yeah.
To have them all go together.
It will be in the DVD.
Yeah, in the DVD. We'll talk about that in a second, what that alternate ending was. But it was amazing to see that the last round of shooting, where you went back and you had Ben now get to launch the LK and fly into orbit, and here is the original ending of the film, where Nate returns, and in that version, Ben doesn't get to launch at all.
You remember what? No, I remember. It's like this particular moment of Nate showing up at the porthole. It was in the first trailer.
Yes.
And it got really good score. That moment.
It got great scores when he showed up with a hammer.
Yeah.
And then of course it was gone for such a long time. And I remember we even talked about it. Well, I guess that'll just be in the trailer only. And here it is. And then we added this piece here with the great payoff of the creatures inside his helmet. And the Russian visual effects team, Dennis and his team, did this visual effects so quickly, because none of this was shot to be a visual effect. It was all.
Yeah, they did it like handmade animation completely.
Yeah. Behind glass, because there's so many layers of glass in the shot, and it wasn't shot to be that. So they had to really work their asses off to make that look as good as it is.
And so fast.
And so fast, and such a great payoff to see that I've got a face full of moonsters.
And this is one of the other moments that you find a line of dialogue from a different part of the movie, and you put it here.
Oh, right. The line of dialogue here
I'm
where
coming
he says,
home.
"I'm coming home,"
I'm coming
was
home.
was from a version where Ben was walking on the moon,
Yeah.
was lost, couldn't find the LK,
Yeah.
is sitting there thinking he's going to die, and there's a giant moonster behind him. I totally forgot the giant moonster moment that rises up behind him as he looks and then sees the LK glinting in the distance.
Yeah, that was the original ending.
And he has this long sort of heartfelt goodbye where he says, "I'm coming home."
And it was so perfect.
It was-
you put it there, and it was like,
and it went right into sync into Warren's mouth, and I think I don't even know what he's saying there. I don't even know if the take has started rolling yet. That might even be before action.
I don't remember what I was
Yeah.
saying. Now for me, it's saying I'm coming home.
Yeah,
he
it-
always said
'cause-
I'm coming home.
Yeah, because that's exactly how the conception worked. And then all this dialogue here for Ryan and for John and the capsule was all created in post production in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The rocks that are going to float up and rise around Ben that's not actually what happens in that take. We found a piece of footage where he looks around and realized we could do that because Timur had talked about wanting a zero-G moment where things rise up around him.
And we found that take that he's looking around and like, oops, we can put rocks here.
Yeah, there can be rocks, and for the longest time, the fake version of the shot, it said rock, 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 and then when it turns into spiders, it went spider, spider, spider. And it literally was the word rock and the word spider, which I still have that on my laptop, just because there's something about that is it's like badger, badger, badger. There's something about it.
He was working great.
Yeah, it would have been a different way to go.
And here the sound design works so good. It's like it's building to a climax, and the explosion at the end that we're getting closer to it. That was also like, I don't know, like 4 days ago. Like Harry Cohen finished it and like cut it there. We saw it, and it works so good because it was difficult. It's like how you make an explosion in the
that
vacuum.
you don't see.
In the vacuum, you're not gonna see it, and we wanted to do something like really metallic, like two submarines or two ships
Hitting each other.
Yeah, and then sounding like kind of implosion. And he's great.
Yeah. So you have this final moment where impact, and then you don't really know what happened. Are they dead? Well, the implication is, yeah, they died. That in this moment, the impact probably ruptured the seals of those ships.
And the old discussion of all the cards, how deep the information that you want to give,
and what that information is. There's so much debate about how to get this information across. We really we talked about wanting to get the idea that their bodies were never recovered, so implying that.
Take the conspiracy.
Yeah, take the conspiracy to that next level.
And something that we didn't talk about is like, for me, it was a completely new experience to preview a movie. And in this movie, we preview it three times. And it's a really painful process. It is. It's amazing, and you learn a lot.
Yeah.
But it's hard. But it really worked. It's really nice to be there with the audience, seeing how they react and
what they're missing, what they want more of.
Yeah, you can really get when they're liking it and when they're not.
And really what you feel, I always find in the previews, you feel the pace. You feel how the movie's working time-wise.
Yeah.
This last lunar rock text Cody found.
Yep.
This is true, all this information. And it somehow completely brought the movie together.
Yep.
And then this beautiful finale with the reprise of the Yes track, where we see them in their final moment of bliss.
Yeah. The music.
Yeah.
The music. Yeah. Now we have the end title song that we have at the end of the movie. That it's a piano song, and it's like a cover version of the We Three Kings, like the Christmas song. And it's like Sarah Webster was the music supervisor. And Sid Sent has like different Christmas songs for the beginning of the movie, because you got it something at the beginning.
Yeah, we cut it We Three Kings at the beginning because it felt sort of like a cheeky, fun reference to the three guys, the three astronauts.
And of course to set the movie and on the date of the Christmas Eve and everything, and then I thought of finishing the movie with this more melancholic
Yeah.
effect with the song. And my sister, she's a pianist, a piano player,
Yeah.
and I asked her like really fast, can you do something fast, please? I sent him the original Christmas song, and I said some references of piano songs that I like, and she sent it to me like the day after, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like when I first heard that, I just couldn't believe how it perfectly captured the tone of the film. That it had this sort of beauty and isolation all by itself. That solo piano and the version that was unexpected, which seems so appropriate to the film because so many things in the film are unexpected.
And it's like it gives you the feeling of thinking about them as from my point of view, and as humans, as
Yes.
as really supporting the idea that this really happened,
Yeah.
and it happened 30 or 35 or
Yeah.
40 years ago.
It was funny. As we were finishing the film, we had talked about it ends with the lunar truth, but one of the versions that we had done on the card at the end was actually said for my father, and it was it was the idea that the footage was who edited the film, what's the point of view of the film, is that it's Ryan.
Well, I still think that Brian is behind Lunar.
Yeah, that Ben's son is the one who actually creates the movie.
Yeah.
And we had.
That's why we have this final picture of them together, and
and so that in case you're wondering who cut the movie, it's Ryan Anderson is the one who who the FBI will be hunting down right now, if it were real, which it is or not, perhaps, depending what the lawyers say. And the Capricorn one of it all.
So I think that it's really important to talk about the mix we had last. We mixed the movie twice because of this additional photography and change-ins and recutting the movie. So the first time we mixed it in Vancouver at Sharp Sound.
Yeah, Sharp Sound. Yeah,
Sharp
with
Sound
Paul Sharp and his team.
And they did a great job. And we were working like non-stop, hard. And it's like when you have this feeling that, yes, I made it, I have it, it's finished, great. And then we realized that the movie was still alive and that we could still do some more changes in the movie. So we did another mix here in LA, and how you pronounce it? I'm really bad with this. Tadeo.
Tadeo.
Yeah. And that was really like a great experience. We worked so hard with Wiley Statement and his team and the mixers and Ali Blanc and Rich.
Yeah.
They did a great job, and we were working for, I don't know, 14, 15 hours a day. It's like you watch the movie at the end of the day again to check the mix, and for sure that you're completely deaf, that you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you're just numb to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's why it happens when you have a lot of good people working together.
Yeah, because the mix turned out beautifully, and it's actually we were talking about it with Jor, the dialogue editor, who did such a great job in the film the other day. Is that it was so good that we got to go back in and that you got to go back in and remix the movie because it became better. Not that the original mix wasn't great, it was, and it laid such great foundation for what was to come.
Yeah.
But so many things got to be improved and really got to shine.
Yeah, we had the time to work more.
Yeah, and really things could land harder and the subtlety could be brought out where that needed to happen.
Yeah. When you make a movie, what you don't know how the movie's gonna be. You don't know if the movie's gonna be good or bad. You always do your best, of course, but you don't know if the audience is gonna like it or that's the unexpected. So the only thing you have is the experience of doing it, and to enjoy it while you're doing it and have fun while you're doing it, and that's why I think the better you enjoy the process and to work with the people and know the people and that's in the end what 5 years later when you think about what you did, that's your
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great experiences in making the film, from obviously everything you went through, the shooting it and being covered in moon dust every day and probably, wandering back into the hotel completely, covered in lunar detritus from day to day to, going out and hearing Cody Swig do karaoke and realize he was indeed, the boy who sings or the amazing singing boy as a child, which he's probably going to be mortified that we shared that story. But there's all that camaraderie and that feeling of solidarity. That,
like the movie, it's possible because of a lot of people working together. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like the
working
movies.
together.
That's what it's nice of making movies. This it's not making this one different than other ones, but when you live that experience, when you enjoy it, it's when you feel really rewarded. And,
yeah, exactly. And it's so much that I said before, that's the testament to you and your inspiration of the entire crew and of everybody wanting to do well for you and wanting to do well for your vision for the film. That always was maintained. That through, regardless of the versions, the preview process of all the different things that we created throughout the process that occasionally were counterintuitive. Even for us, became the best possible movie at the end, and that your vision was true the entire time. It never was lost. And that's a fantastic thing.
And it was good to go back to editorial and work there. And you have the feeling, that they're suffering, like David Kasparov and Matt Tasson and Marshall, all the people that helped us there, because the movie was suited, as we said at the beginning, with different frame rates and different.
Everything was different.
It was a mess, and you go there and then it's always good mood. Even the it's non-stop working. And
we embraced the adventure. It took us a while to understand what the adventure was, but once we understood it, it was just like, my God, this is going to be unlike anything else we've ever done, and everybody just wanted to make it work.
Yeah. And since we were learning all the time what the movie was about,
exactly,
then it's like you are open-minded to every single help from everybody, every single idea that could improve or help.
Like I think so much of how the stock footage was cut at the beginning. When they're doing the separation of the lunar module and the command module, that stuff. Some of the stuff is still what David cut together. Kashvarov cut together. And when we were saying, this sequence is too long, here, give us a shorter version.
Yeah. Or for example, the beginning of the movie, like this is something I told you yesterday. I think it was like that the fact that we start with the prologue with the engineering lab and then the super 8mm barbecue, that is something that we had with Matt Tasson, I don't know when was it, in May, as a template, like
as a test using stock footage, right?
Yes, before shooting it, and now it's the beginning we have,
Yeah, and then you went and shot real footage to go over top.
Yes, but when we saw it, that moment it was not working. Because what is this? But it is as a
and that became the unmistakable important guideline of film. And then we talked about the different music that ended up in there, like the Yes song, which was originally like Carpet Crawlers, and then the King Crimson song, and all those things, and how those things changed, and everything became exactly what it needed to be. Like the Yes song is so perfect, but it became perfect because of we couldn't have what we originally wanted, and we couldn't have the second thing we originally wanted, and then this arrived, and somehow was better than any of the others put together.
Yeah, you're right. When you have problems doing it and you find alternative solutions, it's when you find solutions that you were not expecting, but in the end are the best.
Yeah, or the best for the film.
Okay.
So
sounds like this is it. This is the ending. I hope you enjoy the movie. I hope you enjoy the audio commentary. And that's it. Thank you very much for being there. And the movie's coming out in 2 weeks. I don't know what we're doing here. Okay, thank you very much.
As trees shed their rays upon the lands, but I still hear the crying from the skies. The world goes on spinning sadly, oh so sadly, past our eyes.